Welcome to Sotokler Sessions, a podcast where design, art, and architecture come together through conversation. I am Victor Sobra, co-founder of Sotokler Studio in Rome, Italy. From here, we help interior designers around the world bring projects to life by sourcing vintage design and creating custom furniture and fixtures with local ateliers and galleries. Our work is rooted in access, in opening doors to objects, places, and people that are not always easy to find. But in this podcast, the focus is on the talents behind it all. Each week, I sit down with designers, architects, gallerists, and creators from across the globe. Together, we explore their journeys, the turning points in their careers, and the ideas that shape how they see and make. This week on Sotokler Sessions, I sat down with Alexandra Azat, the very chic and inspiring founder of Plaster and Patina in Pasadena, California, near Los Angeles. As an interior designer, Alexandra has this rare ability to make historic homes feel alive again. Her style is collected, layered, with that very East Coast and European touch that makes every space full of character. Our conversation was very inspiring. We talked about her journey from finance to floristry, to interiors, her love for historic California estates, and the very personal process of rebuilding her own home after the recent fires. Alexandra has a true creative mind, and the way she speaks about houses, almost like people with names and personalities, will probably stay with you. Enjoy and see you on the other side. Hello, Alexandra. Thank you so much for being part of this podcast today. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, excited because, we've been collaborating for a couple of months. So it's nice to tell the world more about your story, what happened recently, all of the beautiful designs and projects you do with Plaster and Patina. And
Yeah,
actually would like to start this conversation about you. At one point of your
great.
life, you were a florist.
I
What we
was.
can tell is that you're a businesswoman. Um, I feel like none of these roles ever felt secondary for you.
No, I'm very much split down the middle with right brain, left brain. I was raised by a very strong father who was an entrepreneur. His father before him was an entrepreneur. So I think, you know, the two are almost mutually exclusive in that I love building a business and a brand as much as I love being creative.
Yeah.
And the two just happen to blend beautifully in the career path that I've chosen.
So you started as a florist designer, right?
I studied finance at USC. I was an investment banker right out of school. I hated it.
Wow.
I lasted about a year. I was very close with my with my father, and so right away he saw that it wasn't for me, and he said, "Well, maybe let's look for businesses, creative businesses, something else that maybe you can jump into and love." And there was a little floral shop that was for sale, and I'm a numbers girl, so the numbers were beautiful, but the storefront itself was very unattractive. The brand wasn't something that I wanted to get behind, but the numbers were so great that I said, well, what if I can just do this myself, not buy this company, start at the very bottom and build it the way I want it to be built. And it sounds exciting and fun. And I'm the type of person that if I get excited, I'll just jump in with my entire being and I don't look back. And so that's what I did. So I started my first company. It was called Blush Botanicals. We did floral design exclusively out of a small little garage space. We did things like bud vases at restaurants. And, when you walk into a nice restaurant and there's a beautiful floral arrangement, we did things like that to
Mhm.
pay our rent while we built our wedding side. Because what I really wanted to do was luxury weddings.
Interesting.
So that built really, really fast. We grew it very fast. At the time, there was no Pinterest, and being a floral designer was not yet cool. Now I think it's a very cool, chic thing to
I
do.
was about to say,
Um,
yeah.
but back then it wasn't. This is, 17 years ago. So it wasn't so chic. It was like when I would tell my friends what I was doing, leaving banking to be a florist, they were like, "You're absolutely crazy. You're
Mm.
totally crazy." My dad was the only one that believed in me at the time, and he said, "You can be successful at anything you wanna do if you put 100% into it, and you constantly, you don't stop working towards it, and you put everything in, and You can be the best cake baker, you can be the best florist, the best whatever, and you can make a beautiful living off of that if you do it the right way.
That's how you entered the design
Exactly.
related industry, right?
Exactly. So we started there. Like I said, we grew very fast. I think at the time, there was a big hole in the market. People were really doing the same thing over and over again.
In Los
And it was
Angeles, you're saying.
very there was a look that was missing. I would say I always lean like more of a European look, like a natural. Now it's very cool again to respect the flow of the flowers and the negative space, but then it wasn't. Everyone did the same thing. It was like a big ball of flowers. And so when we entered the space, we were able to be sort of pioneers in a different look. And people liked it and they jumped on board with it. And we grew so, so fast. And then we grew into doing lighting and event production and full event design. We became an ultra luxury brand. We renamed ourselves to Blush Event Designers. And then when I had my first child, the stress was crazy for events because, at that level, we were doing a lot of celebrity work and different things like that. And at that level, I had to be gone to oversee build outs for like a week, 2 weeks at a time. I was overseeing 40 employees. It was a lot.
Wow.
Uh, and so I started a second brand called Parker and Posies with my project manager. So I partnered with her, and essentially we took the majority of the business that I didn't want to handle, and we pushed it through that company. So at Blush, we were doing a maximum of 10 events per year, but they were very, very large. And
Mm,
at Parker and Posies, we would do like 100 to 200 events per year, and they were just like paying the bills. So one was a passion project and
mm.
one was a real company that didn't need me to run. And it was wonderful until my project manager decided she also wanted to start her family. The attention to detail required at that level, it's just you have to be there every single day at every
Mm,
event. And weddings are very emotional. So people wanted us there. They wanted to see our faces the day of their wedding. And that's weekends. So we didn't have weekends. We couldn't, be with our families. And we lived out our dreams. I mean, we did like the Bulgari galas and like amazing things that people would
wow.
only dream of being able to design. But the stress level and the amount of time we had to be away from our families and not having weekends was very draining. And so when she got pregnant, we decided, hey, maybe we want to consider selling the companies if we can, which would be very lucky in an economy that, was starting to tick down, then it's a sign that we should change career paths.
And that's when you started interior design.
So during that time, I was already fixing up historic homes with my husband on the side. Like
Okay.
we did it because we loved it together.
Passion
I
again.
loved the exactly. All of the businesses start with passion for me. I lead my life with I lead from the heart, truly.
Mm,
So, um, we would go into these old homes and the level of detail was spectacular. Spectacular. I was raised traveling through Europe a lot and, in New York there's these old estates, right? That
mm,
that aren't perfect, but to me they're perfect because the craftsmanship is such that to rebuild something like that today would cost an arm and a leg. I fell in love with these old homes and so I started doing this. Some of my clients started asking, "Can you help me with my house?" And I'm not the type to go half into anything, so I would say no. But so when my company did sell and it sold fast, we decided we would go all in on interior design. So right away, we started with our systems. You know, although we were doing the systems that were in place for our event production brand are similar to interior design, there's still a huge learning curve. There's
mm,
still differences, huge differences. The details matter. And so we dedicated ourselves to editing our processes because we knew we would grow fast again and we wanted to be able to do that without burnout.
mm. I see your point, yeah.
And so we kind of laid the foundation for growth and now here we are a year and a half later and we've got a full roster and we're growing.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
What do you feel is something that you had to leave in the florist business, in the flower business, that you had to unlearn now that you're in interior design full on?
Mm. I would say I would take on like, emotionally, I would take on all the burdens of my clients, and I would
Mm,
not be able to sleep at night because of how stressful that was. I'm very controlling. I'm very type A. So with weddings and with floristry, You can't control things like the wind, when it's going to rain, the stress of that. Like, still, when I hear, oh, it's going to rain on Saturday, I'm like, oh my God, we need a backup plan. We need to, we need to move everything inside or build a tent overnight or, so unlearning making work my priority
Mm.
has been a big, important shift for me, prioritizing my family and understanding that if something bad happens, it's not the end of the world. And like taking everything with a grain of salt, enjoying work life balance was my biggest struggle and what I've worked on the most.
I was about to say, one of our clients who's also an interior designer in New York, she keeps saying, "It's a sofa. No one will die. It's
Yes.
fine. It can wait." But I feel like when you were working for weddings, it is an emergency because it might be the most beautiful,
We
most
had
important
oh
day
my
of.
gosh, I couldn't even tell you all the things that we've had go wrong that truly were emergencies. Like, we used to rent these huge refrigerated trucks, like big, 30, 40-foot trucks, and at night, we would pack them to drive them on long trips the next day, full of flowers that took us 5 entire days with 20 people to create this, right? One
Mm,
day, we went to go drive on site and the freezer had locked and everything inside was frozen, dead. And I mean, if you ask luxury florists about this, I'm sure it's happened to all of them. It happens. And then you have to scramble. I mean, thank God we had such close relationships with our vendors, our growers that were in like Colombia and Ecuador. I made very, very close friends with all of them. And so, because we were such close friends, I could call them and they would say, "What do you need from me? We will
mm.
take it from other people's shipments and we'll make sure you get it." And they would come meet me on site and we always pulled it off. But in the moment, it did feel like an emergency because we had to deliver. Interior design is not like that.
I still feel like clients call you on weekends. They want everything ready right now, right?
We are very good about client management,
Uh,
boundary drawing, making sure our clients understand what our process is. We're the ones in the driver's seat, and they come to us because they want that. They don't
mm,
want to be in the driver's seat for something that they don't know what the next step is. They want you to be in control. With that said, if you don't have a process and you're not in control, that's where you run into problems with
mm,
clients. That is when they will get nervous, they will start doubting you, then they will start controlling you.
mm.
That's the cycle that you wanna avoid.
It's very well said. Maybe let's talk about your work more than your method. Maybe, let's talk
Yeah.
maybe about fast, exciting projects. I'm sure there's so
Yeah,
many to explore. But
yeah.
how would you describe your work to someone who has never seen it?
Hmm. I would say I'm a product of a lot of travel. So there's a
Mm,
level of like a timeless eclecticism within our work. I want all of our spaces to feel collected, like over time. So you'll always see something new and something old. I like the addition of something quirky and interesting. I want spaces to feel conversational. I would say all encompassing. I want a room to feel like it's completely like envelops you when you walk in, whether that's bright and airy or darker and moodier. It's got to be a vibe. So when you
mm,
walk in, the whole thing has to feel like you don't want to leave.
mm,
And so, we establish that with things being not too perfect. I think that a lot of designers make mistakes when they try to make everything perfect, 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 because then you feel like you can't sit, you can't
yeah.
enjoy, and
Mm,
it feels one note. So I think, our layering of the old, bringing in antiques, bringing in interesting details, quirky details, something conversational. I would say overall very classic, but
mm,
there's like a quirky spin, I guess, to our spaces. I would say like we like to play with the masculine and feminine.
mhm.
So some people may feel our spaces are masculine. I don't feel that way. I feel like they're strong feminine.
Interesting.
But there's always some sort of like a curvature that we're putting in, some sort of like almost like a sensuality, which sounds strange for a space, but it's almost like we're designing the interior architecture classically, and then we're making it feel feminine with our use of textures and velvets and mohairs and like subtle curves to the furniture and stuff like that.
I mean, I do have to say, and again, you don't have to agree with me, but out of all of the interior designers we had the chance to work with or witness their work in your area on the West Coast, you're the most East Coast traditional, almost like sometimes this New Orleans feel to these old estates, old homes. There's definitely like an old world, maybe from the different side of the
Mhm.
continent to your work. Would you agree?
Absolutely, yeah. I am most inspired by, like, a 100-year-old estate. That's for me, like, thinking about what happened in these homes and the parties that were hosted there and the life that these homes have lived. I also think that in today's world, we're pulled in so many different directions that
Mm,
we can't focus the way that architects did 100 years ago when all they did was focus on their work. And I think it comes through in the construction in terms of like the details, the
mm,
way the house faces the sun, and that this is where this is because of functionally it gets the most sun over here and shade over here,
mm,
and the scale that they understood and had such a good understanding of, like, how the size of the windows and how pitched the roof line should be based on, you know, studying just that. And I feel like today people are very pulled in a lot of different
mm,
directions, and, a lot of times it's just not the same level of artistry that it was back then, and, um I also feel like 100 years ago, these homes were designed to welcome guests, and there's something so fun about that. I mean, the flow of them, you usually walk in, there's usually a big, beautiful entry room just
mm.
to enjoy an entry, just, to
Sure.
be greeted. That's so romantic. And then you walk to the right and there's a dining room, and the left and it's a living room, and it's meant for pleasure, these homes. Today, it's like it's people are like, "Well, what's the point of having an entry vestibule?" I'm like, "Well, it's gorgeous." And it's to enjoy. Like,
Mm.
can't we just enjoy things?
But I feel like the pace of designing before the rhythm was way slower,
Yeah.
and I'm really, fascinated by your capacity to go deep down to details, understanding this feeling of, slowness and the beauty and chicness in it. Yet, I mean, I know you a little bit now because I've been following all of your projects and even working with you, the pace at which you go. How do you balance this attention to details and your capacity to take on so much, always grow your practices in such a rapid way? What's the secret here?
The secret is to not do it alone. I
Ah,
can't do all of it by myself. I have a supportive husband. I have an amazing team. Our project manager's been with me for 16 years since I started my first company. She
it's
was one of my
still the
first
same
employees.
from the floral business.
Yeah, yeah,
No
yeah, yeah.
way. Wow.
And now we have this, like, wonderful admin that's sitting here, and without being able to offload tasks, you can't keep growing. So, I think a lot of mistakes, or the biggest mistake creative entrepreneurs make, is forgetting how important everyone is to this growth. Do you
Hmm.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
not to
when
be a
you're
one-woman show, but knowing how
exactly.
to leverage
Knowing
on
when to
everybody's
ask for
role.
help, knowing how to train that help, knowing what you need. I mean, first you have to see what you need. So you'll hear a lot of creative business owners saying, "I wanna clone myself. I just need to clone myself." You don't need to clone yourself, or you would start another company probably.
Yeah,
You don't need to clone yourself. You need to learn what you don't like to do, what you don't
know how to do.
want to be focusing on, and what you're not great at, and
Mm,
then you hire for that. I know my weaknesses, and I hire for that, and then when they're good at it, I appreciate them.
mm. Because they enable you to focus on what matters for you.
Exactly,
And
exactly. It's like growing a family. For me, growing a business internally and knowing who to bring on is the same as, like, choosing a partner.
mm, interesting. Sound like my mother who says that her business is like her baby.
It is,
I have a
it is.
couple of brothers and sisters, you see?
Exactly. Yeah, but if you don't treat it that way, it will swallow you up, or you'll get to a point where you just can't grow any further, and you'll wonder why.
Interesting. And then you see, we wanted to talk about your past projects. We go back to your method for how much your method is key on how you succeed in the actual projects, installations you have successfully completed. Maybe let's talk about them a little bit. Let's force ourselves to go on the actual essence of your work. So,
Sure.
looking back at all of the interiors you beautifully designed, all of the successful installations, we could even go back to your flower business even before. Is
hmm
there a space, maybe a specific project that still feels emotionally resonant to you today?
I get I get emotionally attached to like 90% of my projects.
What about the other 10? We can cut that part.
there there are I think in my mind, I draw the line of there are projects that pay the bills
Mm,
and there are projects that I love. And I think that there's 2 factors that draw that line for me, and the first is the connection I have with the client because, again, I work off of emotion. So if I
mm,
really connect with somebody, I will break my back to perfect their project.
mm,
I'm like a puppy. Like, I just wanna please them and blow their minds. And if I don't feel that emotional connection, then it's business, and we still do an amazing job, and they're still blown away and so happy, but, chances are I'll have, like, a lead designer working on that one
mm.
more heavily, and I'll make sure that it's aligned with our principles and our values and all of that, but I'm less, like, emotionally involved, and, you know, I think it's mostly the client connection for me.
Interesting. And what about an actual project? And tell us about commercial project, a recent nice residential project that still resonates that you think about the morning when you're getting ready to go to your studio.
I mean, right now, we're in the midst of a few amazing ones. For me, the ones that resonate currently the most are my Altadena projects because we're
Mm.
rebuilding Altadena,
Get to
and
this,
having
yeah.
a hand in that is so important to me, and it makes me feel like our work is more important than ever to be designing interior architecture for a rebuild that was already so spectacular. Like, I really feel like I need to rise to the occasion, and it's not something that we're gonna copy what's been done. It's something that, is going to require us to get in the heads of these architects from 100 years ago and
Mm,
say, like, "Let's deep dive into a study of woodwork. Why are we doing the crown this way? Why
mm.
are we doing the baseboards this way?" The balance of function and fashion, and it takes like 10 years of full concentration to be an expert at any one thing, right? So there's so much learning I still have to do, and that's exciting. And for me right now, the focus is truly understanding and learning all about woodwork so that we can design things that are spectacular. And for the next 100 years, people are like, wow, look at that woodwork. It's not just something you see every day. It's something interesting that takes craftsmanship that you're not going to Home Depot to get that profile. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah. Maybe let's give additional context and maybe let's open this chapter. I know it's a sad chapter, but I'm sure it's filled with hope, and you're already talking about it, which is what happened on January 8th, earlier this year. You lost your home in the Eaton fires in the Los Angeles County. I don't want to ask you to relive it in any capacity, but can you
That's okay.
share how the days after, during, how did it all unfolded for you?
Well, I had COVID during the
Oh, wow.
fires, and so I have a close girlfriend that lives down the street. So we live kind of by a hill, and then down the street, she was probably like 10 blocks away or something. And had she not kept calling me, I wouldn't have even known that the
Wow.
fire was happening because we had no power and there were no alerts, nothing.
Wow.
And so I was able to get my 2 kids. I have a Great Dane. So I got her out and the 2 boys and obviously my husband, but I left, I didn't even have shoes on.
Wow.
I just ran out. I went to my brother's house. He's, further into Los Angeles, and, the odds of thinking that Like I said, we specialize in historic homes. So to lose a home that had been standing for 100 years, you just kind of feel like, okay, it's not going to happen to those homes. I think that was, for me, the hardest part was all the history that was lost. And so I am not a material person. I love making beautiful spaces, but I don't get attached to anything material.
Interesting.
And so for me, that wasn't the upsetting part. Like the actual loss of stuff wasn't upsetting. It was not having a place to call home for my kids.
I was about to ask.
That's what's important to me, is like home, safety. Those are the things that we're supposed to provide to our kids as
Mm.
parents. That's the basic. So when my kids said, "Where's home now?" That was really, really hard. I woke up the morning that we found out that our house was gone, and I called my realtor and I said, "My sister-in-law bought me underwear at Target, and I'm ready to go looking for rental houses." Because I knew that all of these people were gonna need places to live, and I needed to be able to tell my kids that we had a home.
Mm.
So that morning, 7 AM, I was out with my realtor looking for rental properties, and
Wow.
thank God I did, because we secured, I mean, there were only 2 homes in our whole area that, like, fit the criteria with our big dog and, our 2 crazy boys. Um, and so I didn't want their lives to be changed with their school and all of that. So thank God we found the place that we did and we secured it. And after that, I felt like now I can rebuild our house. Now that we have someplace to sleep,
Mm.
we can keep going.
And that's the duality of being a mother and a builder of homes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now you're about rebuilding with intention, because in the end, knowing you a little bit as well, I can imagine that it was, of course, a very challenging moment, but what an exciting time to be able to design from scratch, build from scratch, learning this entire process, specifically for someone like you who's so, interested, fascinated, even maybe by the entire process, the details. Um,
Hmm.
how did you first approach the idea of rebuilding? With the same enthusiasm that I just described, or at the beginning it was still a little bit painful, maybe to get back to it? To
No, I've learned about myself that I'm a very positive, glass half full type of person.
Mm,
you know, I let myself mourn the house because that was my dream house. And I gave myself, a week to sit and look at pictures and be upset. And then I told myself, now we rebuild it.
mm,
Now, we get this opportunity to do it just the way we want it. And what a gift that I'm in this industry. And now I get to feel that my work is more important than ever and that
mm,
I'm genuinely, truly, truly helping people. And it's really makes me fall in love with our community even more, and how strong we've all been together and how much everyone has come together. If you want to see it as awful and terrible and that's it, you can. You have that choice as a human. And
yeah.
if you want to see it as an opportunity and look at all of the positive that could come out of it, there's that too. And I'm choosing to look at all the positive.
You have an energy, Alexandra. It's inspiring, really. And do you feel like your vision of your new home is different than the one before, or you're trying to reconstruct maybe with a twist?
So a little bit of both. I think that, like I said, this house was my dream home. I'll go back for just a second and tell you a little story about the house. My
We love
husband
stories. Go ahead.
my my husband knows me. I mean, we've been together for a very long time. We've known each other for a very long time.
We want to know
And
more about the husband if we're allowed. Otherwise, we
he
were missing a
called
part of the
me
puzzle.
he called me over one day. We were we were leaving the country club. My house is right across from the Altadena Country Club. Leaving, and he said, "Alex, look right across the way at that house. You can see it through the cypress. That house reminds me of you." And I
Wow.
looked and I was like, "Oh, it does. It's like East Coast." I'm from New York, so it was like very East Coast, like something out of Connecticut, uh, old world, just really beautiful. But then that European cypress, and it very much, he was right. I was like, it does kind of feel like me. I really like that house. And it just happened to be that my realtor said, "Hey, I've got an off-market thing. The owner's not sure. It's a messy divorce. They're gonna list it, but they wanna do it off market. Go look at it, see if you like it." And it was the house. It was this house that we were talking about. And I told my husband, I was like, "You know me. I don't care what we have to do. I'm getting this house. This is happening. This is meant to happen." And so we had just finished fixing up a really great estate in Altadena. We finished it. It was like perfect. And I said to my realtor, "Listen, I'm not holding two houses. We have 5 days. You have 5 days to sell my house. No contingencies, all cash. That's it. That's the deal. I know you can do it. I'm gonna leave for 5 days. I'm gonna trust you with this, and then you get to double end the deal. Done." And she did it, and we went for way over ask. And so we were able to, in 5 days, go from one house to the other house. And
Wow.
then, we moved everything in 30 days, and that's it. New project. So with all of that said, it's a 100-year-old house. All of these homes have the same issues. Kitchen, primary suites. Those are always the issues in an old house. They lived differently 100 years ago. So the kitchens were made for the staff in the back of the house. They're never pretty, they're never large, they're never positioned just right in the house for how we live today. Same with the primary. There's never enough closet space. It's always the same drill. So somebody had done a renovation to the house before. It wasn't exactly how I would have done it, but the bones were incredible. The 100-year-old mosaics were still there on the floor, and it was just really, really special. And so this is the opportunity to build back that essence of all the good. So from an architectural point of view, it will be built back nearly identical. The inside, we're completely redoing the flow. So it's gonna be that perfect flow that we always wanted on the interior side. And I
Wow.
think that's really honoring the history of the home and the original architecture of the home. And yes, we will definitely put back those mosaics. We've already been working with a historic tile company. My husband requested that
Mhm.
it please not be exactly the same because he thinks that's weird. He's like, "I don't wanna clone the house, but I want it to feel the same."
And nothing survived the fires? Not even maybe marble pieces, stone?
Oh,
No
no,
way.
the marble turned to dust and was
No way.
gone. Yeah, it was so intense. Actually, the only thing that survived was our entry mosaic and the fireplaces. That's it. So there was a man that created these amazing tiles that go around most of the fireplaces in Pasadena and Altadena. His name is Batchelder, and they are, you know, incredible historic tiles. People have bought homes here just to collect his tiles. And so that was on the majority of fireplaces in the area. So we saved those, and that's it. So we'll incorporate them someplace. But that's
Well,
that's it. Yeah.
cannot wait to see the result.
Ah, no pressure.
And what about the emotional side of design in general? I mean, I can only imagine when it comes to your own home. Um, do you feel like it plays like a fundamental part in the intention, in the drive?
When it comes to design, I've been a designer for 17 years. I know what I like. I know what I don't like. I know who I am,
Mm,
and I think that a lot of times that's what trips up designers is not it's almost like they're copying or they're not sure of who they are.
mm,
Um, I have a very special aunt who gave me advice. She's very artistic. She's lived all over the world. I very much admire her, and she said to me, "If you're gonna be a designer, the first thing you have to understand is yourself. So whatever you need to do to dig in and understand why you like certain things, why you're drawn to certain things, and that will go far for you." So
mm,
I did. When I sold my other company, I had, like, a few weeks to just kind of sit and think, and I did. That's what I did. I did research on myself. I was like,
mm.
"Who the heck are you? Why do you like these East Coast things? Why are you drawn to"
Yeah.
because it's usually for an emotional reason, and so I know myself well enough to know what I want this house to be, and I feel confident when I'm designing it.
And when you design for yourself, for your clients, do you feel like there's a detail, maybe a wallpaper, a sconce, a layout that for you holds more meaning than people might assume, or maybe a detail in the design that you feel is always stronger emotionally for your clients or for yourself?
I would say when it comes to the emotional attachment of that, I get really attached to the flow of
Mm.
homes. So when a person walks in the house, where are they going? Why? Do they know where to go? This is all based on woodwork. Are we like if a door has an amazing architrave that's so interesting and you're going to know that that's the door that you're going to go through, right? So we speak the language of architecture and that's what we do for our clients. And so for me that's the most important part is let's start from ground zero. What's the personality of this house? What does this house want? Again, another reason I love old homes cuz they tell you what they want. Whereas with a new build, you're developing it, which is fine, but there's just so many avenues. So I think that I get attached to developing that personality and the flow. And then that's why we give all of our homes female names because we do feel they develop their own personality, right? So there's like a Sloan and there's a Vivian because it's the essence of who this house is?
Chic names, by the way. I propose to do something we did in all of the episodes we did this season. Rapid fire questions. Let's
Okay.
get started. A scent that reminds you of home.
Oh, laundry?
Okay. A material that comforts you.
Mohair?
Okay. A floral element that feels most you.
A floral element. Oh, cut branches from outside.
No. A design detail you always prioritize moving forward.
Moldings.
Moldings. A space, real or imagined, that you are designing in your mind these days.
Oh, my own house.
Okay, looking forward, what does hope look like for you right now?
I mean, I'm feeling extremely hopeful. Not only are we rebuilding a town, helping rebuild a whole city, but building this little business and this little family that we have here at Plaster and Patina. And that's exciting and fills me with so much hope.
Which is maybe the most important and meaningful thing we all
Hmm.
have in life. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I propose to end on a moment of manifestation. I don't know if you're like a manifestation
Yeah.
person
Oh,
or
yeah.
big fan in
Huge.
California.
Huge.
Great. What is a type of project you would like to manifest for?
My art is with residential. I would say I'm manifesting like a big old estate that needs like a full gut renovation. That's what I'm
And
manifesting.
what about one in Europe?
When my kids get a little older, I'll manifest that. Right now I'm here, but when I'm older, absolutely. Oh yeah. Why not?
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much for taking the time, Alex, for this amazing conversation. If people want to reach out to you, what is the best way to contact you?
Yeah, our contact page on our website, it's plasterandpatina.com. And sending in a contact form there is definitely the best and easiest, most efficient way.
Amazing.
Of
Thank you for
course.
taking
Thank
the
you so
time.
much. Yeah, that's exciting.
Thank you for listening to this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. You can find more information about us on sotoklerstudio.com. Thank you.
What is your definition of design, Monsieur Eames?
One could
the
describe
Saudi
design
and
as a
like
plan
the
for
Venetian. So we created the dialogue between them, and we didn't try to
sensazione di entrare a casa mia. Ed è
When it
quello che mi
comes to
piace
the
fare,
emotional
accogliere le
attachment of that,
persone che mi vengono a trovare
I get
come
really attached to the
veramente una
flow
casa.
of homes.
E quindi